Morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Almost Friday day. How's everybody doing today? Just gonna grab some of my stuff here because I didn't get all organized this morning, which you guys should not really be shocked at because organization is not my, well, organization is, but being prepared on time is not. This is the one I'm looking for. I have to take a little bit of time, and I have all these different binders with everything categorized out, but I have a bunch of papers that need to go in there, and they're not in there yet. So, all right, I'm going to just pop on and invite a bunch of people here. See if we can get some people on here. It's supposed to be a nice, warmer, well, I don't know if I want to say nice. I don't know about if it's going to be sunny or rainy or any of that. But from what I heard, the next week is going to be, the lowest it's supposed to be is like in the mid-20s. And I think today somebody said up into the 50s. So definitely if you have a chance in the next couple of days to get outside, I would highly recommend it. I've told you guys, or not told you, I hate to say told you guys, but it makes me sound like I told you. If you can, I recommend that if you can, to go outside and just stand with your feet on the earth for a few minutes. Hopefully you can find a spot that's not too snowy, and stand there for a minute barefoot. I myself have not done it because I have nothing in my yard that isn't got at least 2 to 3 feet of snow. Even the walkways where my husband shovels and stuff is probably got a good 3-4 inch layer of ice, because we had kind of like a melt this winter, and so everything then froze back up. So we have like a 3-inch thick sheet of ice all underneath the snow. So it's going to be a little harder for some of us to find a spot. I guess I could be brave and go out and stand at the edge of the road, and when no cars are coming, I could go out and stand in the road for a second. I could try that maybe. We live on a pretty busy road here, and they go by pretty fast. The speed limit through here is 55, but 55 is slow for most people going through here. All right, so let's see here. Before we get started, let's remember to pull our card. Not that you guys forget. It's me that usually forgets. Oh, that's right. The other card fell on the floor the other day, and it's still down on the floor. I really need my new table so I can get everything organized. This table, I keep bumping my legs. It's not made to like sit at, so that like I keep bumping my legs on it. And so this was the one we pulled last week. All right, so now I gotta move something so I can get to my cards. I'm telling you, I like that it's right there. It's arm reach for my shelf. But as far as my table goes, I need to do some work on this space. Like I said, I got everything crammed in this little teeny table. All right. I have all kinds of stuff. You can't see it, but I have all kinds of stuff on my keyboard. So if I wanted to type anything, I can't because I have all kinds of stuff stored on the keyboard. I have a crystal grid. I have a bunch of other crystals up there. I got beads. I got a wand up there. You guys can't see it, but it's kind of messy just because I'm limited on space. And I have some crystals here that I want to share with you. So those are there because, like I said, I don't use those or put those away until I share them with you guys. So we definitely need to make some time this morning to do that. All right. I'm trying to move a little closer here. Sorry. All right. So this morning we got Cosmic Exchange. I have not pulled this card before, so I don't know what it says. So again, I got my computer glasses on, not my reading glasses. So feel the totality of the cosmos within you, above you, around you, and beneath you. There is a fountain of light that circulates through the soles of your feet. Oh, that's just weird. Up to your crown and back again, healing you, grounding you, connecting you to all. That is, you are worthy of this divine flow of healing light, and you are a channel of it as well. You are always in the embrace of the all. Rest in that knowing. So the chakra is the Earth Star. The Earth Star is about 6 to 8 inches below your feet. Your crystal would be brookite, which I do not have a brookite. I have been wanting one for a really long time. I will tell you that is a pricey one. Not one of the most pricey ones, but it is a pricey one. Hence why I don't have one. And your herb is frankincense resin. All right. So what I'm going to do this morning is, sorry, I'm going to disappear for 2 seconds just because I'm reading that for frankincense. I want to do something a little different this morning. Now I gotta move my stool back out so I can get back in. Sorry. All right. So let me empty this one. So we are going to, instead of smudging this morning like we usually do, I got my little charcoal disc here. It's always good to do something a little different. You know it's lit because it's making that poppy, cracky sound. All right, so we've got that lit. And I don't have frankincense resin, but, well, I kind of do. I have some frankincense resin powder. So as soon as that gets going, we will put a little on there. I've got a blueberry tea this morning. I love these tea bags. They give you a little insight every morning. So the principal ingredient of life is love. Isn't that cool? I like to give you little sayings here. All right, so these bags are really hard to open, so bear with me. Sorry for the faces. I'm making faces trying to get this open. It's good that they stay sealed because you don't have to worry about anything falling out, but my goodness gracious, when you want to get them open. All right, and you can't really see, but it's just kind of a white powder in there. I don't want to dump it. So I have long fingernails, so I just take a scoop on my nail. I'm going to drop that right on the charcoal disc. And it smells amazing. And so it's just going to burn on there. This is a Chinese press. They don't make them anymore. And you usually have to find them on eBay or an antique store or something. It is made to be very hot because because it's a press, they would put hot coals in there and then they would iron their clothes. And so it is made to be very hot. But if you don't have a surface, like it would be like setting an iron down on your table. It's going to just get very, very hot. So I do have a little candle plate that I just bought at the dollar store that I set that on. So I'm going to set this up here. So you might see the smoke wafting around on the screen. So again, now I gotta kind of come back here. Oh, I so want my new table. He was, my father-in-law is making it for me. He does a lot of the table that I'm using, he made for me. It's actually supposed to be in my camper. But I'm borrowing it from the camper until he gets this one made. And he said he was going to start it Tuesday. So I'm hoping maybe by this weekend he'll have it done so that I can get everything set up and be a little bit more prepared for you on Tuesday. All right. So today, I don't remember, a couple weeks ago or whatever, I mentioned a moon garden, and somebody popped in and said, could you talk more about that? And I certainly can. So I will tell you right off, I am not like a gardener. I am not a super green thumbed person, or at least I don't consider myself to be a super green person. I do like to have myself surrounded by plants. I have all kinds of plants here in my house, in my kitchen and in my bedroom. I have all kinds of plants at work, on my desk, all around the office. There's tons of plants. And they're really good for a lot of reasons. First of all, they're just really great for the air, cleaning the air for us. But they bring in a lot of elements. To me, they bring in that earth element, kind of that feeling of having outdoors inside, which, like, for me is really important because I like to have that earth element around me. And we're living in New Hampshire, a good chunk of that time of the year I can't be outdoors, or if I'm outdoors it's snow and ice. There's not a whole lot of plants and flowers and growth going on out there. Your spruce trees, that's about it. So I like to have a lot of plants around me. You can even see right over here, there's a tree. It's not living. My husband found a tree that was down and brought it in, or he might have cut it, I don't know, and brought it in, and so I have that tree that's there, goes from the ceiling to the floor. We used to have another one over here, but after a while they do get dried up and they're not, the branches start to just break off and stuff. But so there is that. But again, I think I showed you guys before, but I'll definitely do a walk around someday, show you all my different plants and some of the different things, how I bring in different elements of things into the house. And that I'm not just somebody that I just don't tell you guys to do all these things and then don't do them myself. Because my house definitely reflects the things that we talk about. So they're really good for that. I also think they do bring in an amount of water element because they need water to stay alive, and you need to take that time to water them. So in that way, I feel like you are working with the water element as well. So I think that brings in a couple of good things. So they work with the air because they're cleaning the air. They are earth because they obviously have soil in them, and then water because you need to water them for them to stay alive. So the only thing they're not working with is fire, and I don't recommend setting your plants on fire. Not a good combination. All right, so I'll basically just tell you my process of what I have been working on. Like I said, I am not a gardener. I am not somebody who is well versed in plants. I mean, I'm familiar with the plants that I have, and I know when to water them, and I know where they like to be, sun, shade, things like that. But I'm not somebody that can typically just go see a plant and tell you what it is and what it needs and all that stuff. I would like to do that, but I can only learn so much stuff so fast. All right, so your biggest thing is knowing what zone you are in before you can really do much of anything. Well, so what I started with, I'll just walk you through my process, and then you can do it differently if you'd like. But my process was Google was my best friend in this project. So what I did was I Googled white blossom flowers or white flowers or white blossoms, anything like that. You can Google white. And you can Google moon garden. There's a ton of articles out there about moon gardens as well. They're all a little bit different, telling you what to do and how to do it and stuff. But what I've done is, like I said, I just made a list of white, anything that has a white blossom on it, white flower. I also did, I have incorporated some that may be white with a little bit of other color in them. I found one that was white that has like a little burgundy-ish color inside. But I have to find out, jumping ahead, I have to find out what zone it's for. So anyway, so I started the list of all these flowers that are white or flowers that don't necessarily have blossoms, but there's a lot of different foliage, plant, ground cover stuff that is silvered leafed. So if you can find something that might be a creeping flower, which is going to spread out for you. So when you've got your layout done, you would plant these creeping silver leaf flowers around them, and they're going to grow all around and fill in the spots where there aren't plants. So anything with a silvery leaf, and I'm going to go over a few of them. And I was thinking I can probably type them out into the comments as well. But again, if you want to write it down, and just rewind me and listen to me again. But if I can, I will try to get a list in there for you. I have an article here that has a list, but it's not a very long list. So what I've done is basically, between Googling it and different articles, I have gone in and compiled a list of all these different flowers that have white ones. Like I said, I might have a couple in there that might be a very pale pink or very pale blue, but mostly white, and silver leafed ones. So I've compiled my list. I shared on the group a Pinterest board that I started that has a lot of those in there for you. So you can certainly go to Pinterest and look at my boards there, or you can scroll down in the group and you can find the link for my Pinterest board there as well. Or you can start your own, just like I said, and same thing, like just the same thing that you Googled is white blossom flowers or white flowers. You can put in moon garden, anything like that, and you'll get tons of information. All right, so they've also been called white gardens. I like moon garden better. But you can look, just search white garden, but it's kind of a little more vague, and not. I didn't Google white garden, so I'm not really sure what you'll get for results if you did that. It's kind of vague, and sometimes vague things on Google brings you places you don't really want to go. I don't know how white garden would, but you never know. All right, so white or pale blue flowers. And then from there, you've got this big list of your flowers. And And then what you need to do, the second step, is you need to find out what zone you are in. And if you, again, Google in plant zone, you should come to a, click images, and you should come to a map of the United States, and it's going to be sectioned off in colors, and each color is going to tell you your zone. From there, that zone is going to let you know what types of flowers you can grow, because obviously what we grow in New Hampshire is going to be very different what they can grow in California. California can have plants pretty much year round, where we have about 3 to 4 months in New Hampshire for plants. So we have June, July, August, and September. And that's pretty much it for our plants. After that, it starts in October, you get frosts, and so most of the plants go bye-bye after that. So your zones, so that is definitely something you need to know. So we've got this huge list, and so if you can, when you're looking at these flowers, you could write down the zones next to them, or you can go back and search them after, whichever way you prefer. But once you know your zone, you're going to, anything that's not in your zone, you're going to cross that off your list, because you don't want to spend your money on it, because it's not going to grow good here, or it's not going to live here. If it's not in your zone and it's an annual, which an annual means that it only lives one time, meaning one, you might be able to plant it if it's a different zone, and you plant it in the house and get it started, which we'll talk about that. But it may live for you. If it's a perennial, which is going to come back year after year after year, and I hope I didn't mix those up, because I tend to, but I'm pretty sure annual is one time a year, perennial is, I will double check that to make sure for you, because I don't want to tell you the wrong thing, but I will double check that. But anyway, I'm going with this one for right now. So perennial comes back year after year after year, which I prefer. I don't want to go out and spend money on flowers every single year, and I don't want to plant a new garden every single year. So I try to find ones that I know are going to come back. That is a preference. You certainly can put perennials or annuals in your moon garden. Just know that some of them are only going to be for one season, and they won't come back next summer. So I'm going to look for flowers that are going to come back year after year after year. So I'm going to go plant my garden, and then after that, all I have to do is maybe, weed it once in a while. But if you've got that creeping silver leaf plant in there, there's a couple of different kinds. That's really going to keep your weeds out, because anything that's a creeping flower like that pretty much is going to take over and keep the weeds out for you. The other thing is, maybe in the spring, each spring, I usually like to clean it up and put some fresh mulch. But I don't want to have to go out and buy plants every year, and I don't want to have to go out and do a whole new garden every year. So if you pick something that is going to only come back once a year, just remember kind of your placement of where you're going to do your layout, because if it's something that's going to come back only once a year, you don't want to necessarily put it like right in the middle of your garden, unless you really do plan on buying a new one every year. I tend to, if I do that, I tend to put them around the outsides of the garden. So then once they've died and passed, I can pull them out, and it's not a big deal if I don't put anything back if they're on the edge. I mean, again, it's all my preference. Lots of people probably do it very differently, and how you do it is certainly more than fine, I'm sure. I'm just going by with the way I like to do it, okay? So if somebody says, no, that's not how you do it, that's fine. You can do it however you want. I'm just letting you know how I do it. All right, so we've got our list of flowers. We've got our list of which ones can be in our zone. we've got a list of which ones are annuals and which ones are perennials. So the next step is actually, before you even do the annuals or perennials, do this step and then go back and do the annuals and perennials. I should have. Is figure out where your garden's going to be. My garden is going to be at the front of my house. So when cars are going by and stuff, they can see it. But also because it's kind of where the moon comes up over here. And so I want it to be where the moon is when it comes up, not when it goes down, because when it goes down, it's going to be like 3, 4 in the morning, and I'm not gonna be out there sitting and watching it at 3, 4 in the morning. So if it's in a spot where it's more in an area where it would be when the moon comes up, is my suggestion, just because, like I said, it's right over here. It's hard to, it's kind of over this way, and my porch is right there. That glass door you can see right there. That's a big glass door. And my porch is right there. And so I can sit out there and I can see it. So you're going to want to find out where you want to place your garden. And then from there, you're going to say, okay, is this a spot that gets full sun? Is this a spot that gets partial sun? Or is this a spot that gets shade? The spot I picked is going to be pretty much all shade. There are 3 or 4 huge trees over in that section. And so there's like really no sun that gets over there. So once you know that, then you're going to go, okay, so now like mine is a shady spot. So now I have to cross out anything that says it needs full sun is definitely being crossed out. Anything that says partial sun, I might try to put it in there depending on what the plant is. There are some plants that are definitely very, what we call a hardy plant. They're more one of those ones where you can pretty much plant them anywhere and they'll grow. Iris are like that. I mean, iris are beautiful and they will pretty much grow anywhere, but I will warn you, iris spread like crazy. And if you just want them to be in a little teeny section, iris is not the way to go. If you want them along the whole front of your house, iris is perfect. Because they grow and grow and grow. They're like lilies. Anybody planted some lilies and the lilies start to take off, the lilies just keep going and going and going. So again, that's why you see a lot of people that have lilies in around the base of their house, because the lilies will just keep going. All right, so white blossom flowers, your zone, the area. So full sun, partial sun, shady. So then from there, wherever your garden's going to be, you need to cross off what's not there. And then the last step is the perennials or the annuals. And then you can decide what types of flowers you want to put in there. So you're going to start with a pretty big list of white flowers. And you're going to slowly whittle it down to probably, I'd say 8 or so. Let's see how what I thought I had on it. Well, that's not very good. Thought I printed the list, but it doesn't look like it did. All right. Anyway, so you're going to whittle it down to about probably 8 or 10. If you got more than that, that's great. But, and again, it's totally up to you how big your space is that you're going to use, how much money you want to spend on it, how much time you want to spend on it. If it's flowers that need extra attention, that's always a good thing to know. Not that you would put marigolds in a moon garden, because I don't believe there's white marigolds. I could be wrong. But marigolds are something you have to go out and deadhead all the time. So once the flower has grown, come up and blossomed and gone down, you have to go out and pick them off. So just be aware of if you've picked a flower that needs some sort of special attention. if it needs cutting back, if it needs pruning, anything like that. Again, I like to pick flowers that I know I can just stick out there and be done with it. So I'm going to pick flowers that are pretty much hardy flowers, that are pretty much self-sufficient flowers, and that are flowers that are going to come back every year, because I don't want to spend every spring planting a new garden all the time. Like I said, I may pick flowers that won't come back, and I usually put those around, my garden is a square, and I usually put those around the outside. So for some reason, I've had other gardens at other houses. I don't have one here yet, so I'm kind of going off what I've done at other places I've lived. I would put those around the outside of the garden. So then if a particular year I didn't decide to buy them and plant them, it didn't really look weird. It wasn't like there was a big hole in the middle of the garden that was missing something, because it was on the outside, so people didn't really know that there was ever supposed to be anything there. They just thought that's where the garden was. It wasn't like there was a big spot of an empty spot here, a big spot of an empty spot here. It was just around the edges, and nobody really would know that there was supposed to be something there. So that's my little secret hint, I guess, tip. In New Hampshire, we have a very short season. So for me, where this is the year that I'm planting my garden, I'm going to try to start seeding things this weekend inside. So I went out and got the little cups and the little trays, and I got potting soil and the seeds. And so I'm going to try to do that this weekend, is get some of those going. So they've got a couple of months. So they'll have April and May to grow inside and get started. Because you can wait till June 1st and go plant the seeds, but you're not going to get a very full, nice garden this year, because they are going to have to start growing from fresh, where if you start them inside and give them that time to, start to get to be nice little seedlings, you'll have a little bit better of a garden this year. Like I said, our season here is so short. Typically, you can't plant until after Memorial Day, because you can't plant until we've had our last frost. And that will vary from year to year, but to be safe, so June. You really can't plant anything until outside until June. If you've got them in a little tray, so if you got all your cups and you buy one of those big trays, you could take the tray outside during the day and bring it back in if there's going to be a frost. So you could do something like that, but it's still, like here, it's still way too cold. They can't go outside. So they really can't be outside if it's going to be like in the 30s or below. So you have to wait until it's going to be at least 40 or 50 at nighttime to leave them out. So again, it's pretty much basically June. But you can certainly, if you, like I said, if you've got a tray, you can take them out in the morning and then bring them back in the evening, so they're outside in the sunlight or shade. If you've got a shade garden, if you're doing a shade garden, you don't want to put them in the sunlight. So like me, I could take them out, put them on my porch, because they're not going to get hardly any sun on my porch. My porch has got a roof over it. So hopefully my blabbering has made some sense. All right, so going to go over some of the flowers that I have listed. I just wrote some here in the book, but there's definitely a lot more. And like I said, I thought I had printed another list here, but I guess I didn't. But you can check my Pinterest board, or like I said, I really just did it through Google. All right, so the number one is called Moonflower, which is a type of morning glory. There are angel trumpets and there are devil trumpets. So those come in white. And again, you guys know my pronunciation is horrible. So Sweet Alyssum, Alyssum. And again, I'm probably not saying that correctly, but daisies, a plant called 4 o'clock. Hostas. Hostas are one of those ones where you can pretty much plant them anywhere and they will live and they will come back year to year. So hostas will definitely be in my garden. The Sweet Alyssum, I've bought seeds of those already, and the morning glories, I've bought some seeds already. Lamb's ears are another one. Then iris, but like I said, iris is going to kind of take over. So I'm not sure if I really want to put iris in mine or not. I have some iris up on my back bank, which is kind of wooded. So I don't really care if they go crazy up there. But I may take a couple of bulbs and put it down in this garden. If it's a garden you don't want them to take over every spring, you're going to have to kind of go out and, because you might put in 2 bulbs, and when you go out next spring, you're going to have 12 bulbs. So you'd have to dig them up and take them apart and put 2 bulbs back and do whatever with the other bulbs. You know, around here, there's all kinds of wooded section all around me. So if I ever have extra bulbs, I just throw them in the woods. And if they grow, they grow. And if they don't, they don't. I don't really care. If they do, that's nice, because then you have kind of flowers throughout the woods. Snapdragons are another one. I do have lavender in here, but lavender is definitely more on the purple side. But, you know, it depends on if you want other colors in there. Like I said, you could put in some pale pink or some pale blue flowers, or I found some, they're in the Pinterest and group board, and I don't remember the name of them, but they're a white flower and they have like the middle piece is like a very dark red burgundy. And I'd really like to have some of those, but I haven't checked up to see if they're going to work in my garden yet. But lavender, crepe myrtles. And so that is, I think, a creeping flower. Again, I'm not an expert on flowers. But then you can certainly do, I don't have it written down here, but you could certainly do white roses as well. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a white rose bush, and like I said, my garden is square, and I'm going to put it in the back far corner away from the road. So I'm going to put it back here and then kind of plant the rest of it around it. So if that gets big, it's not in the middle of the garden where it's going to push everything else. It's going to be on the back corner. So if it gets big, it's going to actually just start to kind of go over the lawn. So a white rose bush is definitely something you could use. If you've got it in a spot where you might have a trellis or anything like that, that you could get maybe some sort of vining rose, that would be pretty as well. So there's all kinds of different ideas on that. So you could also put in, depending on where your garden space is, my garden space is not big enough for this, but you could certainly plant some shrubs or some trees that would kind of go in your moon garden. So the one I wrote down for trees would be a dogwood. You could do a cherry tree. Those have white blossoms. Just remember, though, those are only going to be blossom for a very short time. So they're not going to be white flowers all the time. Then in the fall, if you wanted, sorry, I got runny nose all of a sudden. In the fall, if you wanted, you could, if you have something that is just dying down and is not going to come back next year, you could pull them out and put in some white mums.
most everybody has seen, they put mums all over the place for Halloween and Thanksgiving. They usually come in white, yellow, burgundy, sometimes an orangey color. So you could pull out anything that has gone by with that's not going to come back, and you could put some white mums in there to kind of get you through September and October, to have that garden lengthened a little bit. I didn't think I was going to talk this long about it, but some of the other things that we've talked about besides, some of the other things I want to talk about besides the flowers is different things you can put in your garden. Again, it's depending on the size of the space you have to work in. But if you wanted, you could put a little pathway, and I would recommend using white stones. So if you had a garden, I'm going to try to do a little teeny tiny pathway. It's not going to be very wide, just enough like literally to walk. So I might do like a little wavy pathway up the middle or something, to walk. You could put a chair or a bench in there. You could put a bird bath, which is what I think I'm going to do. So somehow in there, I'm going to put from the back, because that's where you would walk in, is actually from the back of mine, the little path of the white stones that might go to the bird bath. So if I needed to clean it or wash it or whatever. Mine is not big enough for a bench or a chair or anything like that, but my plan is eventually to put a bench outside of the garden. So like if you were sitting there, you would be looking at the garden. But if you have a space that you could put the chair inside the garden, that would be amazing. So white stones, a bird bath, some kind of statue. It doesn't have to be goddess related. It could be a fairy, some little gnomes. The only thing is you're going to want to stay away from anything with the really bright colors, because that's going to kind of pull away from the whole theme that you're doing. So the gnomes kind of are blues and yellows and reds and stuff. So that wouldn't necessarily go so much. Maybe a little fairy that's got light pinks and light blues on her would be my suggestion. You could also put some solar lights in the ground around the flowers, maybe around the outside, to kind of make a little bit of a glow from underneath the flowers. Or if it's near, there's trees, which I have a lot of trees around there, but they're very, very high, so I don't think this is going to work. But you could certainly hang some sort of solar lantern in your garden. Maybe what I'll do is get one of those, like the bird feeder hooks that go in the ground, and put a lantern in it that way or something. So you got a little bit of a glow. Don't go crazy with lanterns or lights though, because you really do want the whole point of the white flowers and the white stones and everything and the silver leaves is that when the moon does shine on it, it's going to kind of give it that appearance that your garden is glowing, kind of that reflective-y, shiny, glowy. So if you've got way too many lanterns and solar lights in there, you're not going to really get that effect as much. So if you do solar lights, just do one or two, and kind of tuck them in. So maybe they're just shining through one flower a little bit. Don't have like 20 of them all over the place to light up the whole garden. You could do a very small solar light maybe along the pathway, so that the pathway is lit up if you wanted to do something like that. That I like in my garden, it's going to be too small to do something like that. But if you've got a really big space, where your walkway is going to be here and your flowers are going to be, farther away, you could certainly light up the path, and then it's not going to bother the effect of the flowers off the moonlight. But again, it really just depends on your space and what you can do with that. If anybody has any questions, as always, comments, need some extra help, not really sure where to start or where to end, not really sure on flower placements. Like I said, I'm no expert. I can just go off my experiences, what I've done in the past. My mom is really good. She's a resource for me for flowers. She's had flower gardens since I can remember. So she has a lot of insight on flowers, so I could always ask her stuff. But the whole point of your moon garden is for you to have a space where you can go and relax and enjoy something to spend outside, something that you want to go outside and spend time. You know, I'm always telling you guys to make, again, I'm telling you, I hate to say that word. I'm always suggesting to you guys to have a space where you can go inside that is yours. You know, this is my little space and I'm still working on it, but I have a little space here, which is mine, which is all my stuff, my crystals, my smudge, my candles, all my things. So you should really have a place inside where you feel like you can go to have some you time. It is a little harder because mine's in the living room. But my husband tends to go to bed very early because he gets up very early, which is why I do my videos in the morning because he's not here. Not that I don't want him here, but he's the one that as soon as I tell him I'm going live and I can't help him, he's going to have 20 questions. Where did I put this? Where did I put that? All right. So, yeah, so it's to have a space for you to go to that you want to go spend time in, and someplace that you could, you know, just sit and relax. You could meditate, take your phone out and put some music on and just sit there and enjoy the flowers and the earth and the moonlight. So that is, you know, and anything that's planting is helping our planet. And anything that you're planting is helping the bees. So, you know, there's like a lot of really good reasons why to plant little gardens. There are lots of plants out there that are really good for the bees. To kind of go off on another thing here, that I'm going to be planting as well this year. I have some milkweed that I'm going to be planting. That's more for the butterflies. I don't know. There's different flowers. There's different flowers for the bees. There's different flowers for the butterflies, and there's different flowers for your hummingbirds as well, and things like that. And maybe I'll find some little memes if I can to put in the comments. So if that's something you want to do as well. All right. So I didn't get to talk about crystals because I ended up talking about, I didn't think I talked that long about gardening because I really don't know that much about gardening compared to a lot of other people. But yeah, so white flowers, zone, where it's going to go. So full sun, partial sun, shady. And then where they're going to be annuals or perennials. And then you're going to work on your layouts. And then you're going to work on planting them inside. So when June 1st comes, you have some nice flowers already started to put in the garden. So you can get to enjoy it some this year. First year gardens are not usually too great. But if you do plant stuff that's going to come back year after year, every year your garden's going to just be a little bit more prettier. All right. So with that, I have to go to work, unfortunately. I did not marry a sugar daddy. He's awful sweet, but he's not full of money. All right. So have a great day. Remember to be kind. You know, I was trying to think of like a nice little catchy phrase I could say at the end of my videos, like my little catchphrase that when you hear it, you think of me. And so I'm just going to say, spread your light. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. Is it corny? Spread your light.